At first glance, the city of Norwich, with its historic landmarks, markets and cobbled streets, might not look like a hive of musical activity, but scratch beneath the surface and it's full of live music venues, open mic nights, and plenty of budding musicians vying to have their music heard. But what about the financial aspect? I'll be asking musicians at various stages of their careers what they think about the cost of their craft and the struggles that come with it, and whether the recent rise of streaming services such as Spotify helps or hinders them. I want to investigate what it's like to be starting out as a musician in 2019, what the biggest challenges are, the pitfalls to be wary of, and how you can get your name out there. And where better to look than this seemingly peaceful area of Norfolk. Over the next few months, I'll be following local band Baguette Panzer to find out what the everyday reality of being a musician is for them. Starting out just over a year ago, they frequently play live shows and have already released 2 EPs. I'm meeting the band at Earth Studios, where they rehearse every week. As well as being important practice for their live shows, it's also an opportunity to develop new songs. With everyone either working or at university, their spare time is spent making music, and as one session costs around £30, they have to budget to see what they can afford.
One, you leave, on to 2, you leave, on to 3, you leave, on to 4, you leave, on to 5, you leave, on to 6, 7, 8, you leave. Everybody knows.
Whilst one of their newer songs definitely has a political edge, commenting on the current state of Brexit, the mood isn't always serious.
We're going to see the live reaction of what's happened in the news.
This is my George Bryce smash his own phone.
Oh, Mayville. Oh, no majority for any Brexit answer.
I'm on the way to Bannon with the band, ahead of their supporting gig at the Barrel Pub this evening, and I want to ask them a few questions about their experience of live shows so far. How do you go about booking your gigs and stuff?
We're at the stage now where we kind of will have people come to us and sort of they'll kind of hear about us. They'll get in touch with us via Facebook usually, or send us an email. They'll be like, "Oh, hi guys, listen to your stuff on Spotify or whatever. Really like your stuff. Do you want to come and play at this event we've got going on, or there's room on a bill on a night we're curating or something."
The same sign, Bannon.
So did you used to get really, really nervous when you were first playing gigs?
It's less nerve-wracking when you go on with a full band and it's like a big wall of sound. Yeah, it's quite fun now because you're just having fun on the stage with all your mates.
Well, this is the Barrel in Bannon.
After unloading their kit, it's time for some of the less glamorous aspects of being a musician. And there's plenty of time for the band to relax before soundcheck.
This is for the championship. Oh, he's choked at the last second. We made Sam play with another band. They haven't got bases, so we're like, Sam will play with it.
Setting up for any show involves a lot of logistics. Before the band can finally take the stage. The band's quirky sense of humour is what marks them out as they try to win over the audience. They also have a very literal take on the band's mascot. the show ends, Joe has to begin the process of dismantling his drum kit, which comes with its own difficulties.
Oh my god. Like a glow.
Were you pretty happy with that though?
Yeah, I think I did it really well. Yeah, very excited.
While Sam and Joe continue packing up their kit, the others are enjoying themselves before the late drive home. It's a busy Saturday afternoon in Norwich city centre, and buskers are on every street corner, including reggae singer John O'Shea.
I've been singing all my life over in Ireland, and it was just a choice of music that I chose when I was a young child. But I love reggae music. Reggae music is in my veins and my bones and everything else.
Is there anything in particular about Norwich that made you want to busk here?
There's so many people that comes through, and this bit here that comes up and down here is one of the main veins.
Do you make a decent amount from busking or?
No, not at all. You can make like £20 to £5 to £7 £40. Yes.
Anyone can busk in Norwich without a licence, meaning there's often a good variety of music.
We've been busking for about a year.
Both of us play in different bands and now we've kind of done this together.
Venues around Norwich and elsewhere and festivals.
We've always loved busking. You can't just come out and do whatever you want, you know.
Play when you want.
You can't do no wrong busking.
You're not restricted.
Do you earn quite a lot from doing busking, or do you earn more from doing your own shows?
We earn more doing shows. A fair bit busking, but that goes to pay to instruments and CDs and all that sort of thing.
Just behind me here is the Forum, which is the home of BBC Look East and BBC Radio Norfolk. It hosts a variety of events, including science fairs, gaming fairs, and history and art exhibitions. However, today I'm here to talk to Gary Sandler, who's one of the presenters on BBC Introducing in Norfolk. He talks to artists and bands from various genres and at different stages of their career, but mostly when they're starting out. I want to know what challenges the musicians and artists he talks to face the most, and what he thinks it means to be a musician in the music industry in 2019. Today Gary is helping guest presenter and musician Kitty Perrin, whilst discovering where one musician has sent his music in from.
We had a visit in the studio a few weeks ago.
My name is Aaron, and I make music out of my bedroom in Caister-on-Sea.
Wow.
I mean, that's brilliant, isn't it?
What would you say are the main challenges that musicians are facing at the moment?
One of the hardest things for musicians is the competition. At every stage they have to continually improve, they have to continually make sure that they believe in themselves. One of the challenges they have is just making sure that at every part of the process, musicianship, recording, they can be the very best. At least that way they give themselves more of a chance.
What would you say is the most effective way for musicians to get their music heard?
Go out and play. Find out what reaction you're getting from people. Do people actually like you? Do people like one song more than another? And if you can play in other towns and not just in your own town where your friends are coming along, then you get a much better sense of where you're going.
I'm here at the Barrel Pub in Bannon, where solo act Niamh is supporting American country singer Canaan Cops. Niamh runs the Barrel with her father, so when she isn't creating music, she can often be found here serving behind the bar. The pub often puts on gigs for both local and international acts, so it plays a key role in Norfolk's music scene. Tonight will be a chance for Niamh to showcase her songs to an audience of faces both old and new, and for the pub's regulars to see a different side to her. They weigh me down. They pull me under, don't make a sound. What would you say are the biggest challenges in the music industry and that you face as a musician?
If you're not looking to go around gigging lots, people don't understand it. It's not the best thing for me long term. I still will go out and I'll perform when I'm trying out new music because that's how you get to know it.
What do you find most challenging about promoting your music?
Finding the people who actually want to listen to your music. You can get people to listen to your song once, but that's not what you want. You want people to be listening to it while they're brushing their teeth or singing it in the car. You want it on their playlist. You don't want that one listen. So it's finding the quality listeners opposed to the quantity listeners.
I'll gently rise
and I softly call, good night and joy be with you all.
I'm on the set of the music video for Baguette Panzer's new song Houseproud. Sticking to a tight schedule, it's an early morning and looks to be a late night. I managed to speak to the band in between their preparation for the shoot. What would you guys say is the biggest challenge that you're facing at the moment, the biggest challenge in the music industry?
Getting out of Norwich. Norwich is very insular and
it's like the scene itself is very like comforting, everyone's very supportive, but they're trying to break out of Norwich.
Yeah, very much a big fish, small pond kind of situation.
Yeah, I think the amount of big bands who come and play in Norwich is very sort of few and far between, I think.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't even know where Norwich is.
Would you consider money a barrier to getting started in the music industry?
Yeah. If you have a barrier, there's so much you need to put in before you get anything out.
And I think especially some of the bands that I've seen that started out, some of them have ludicrously nice gear.
Even if you have like the cheapest gear in the world, you have to get to the gigs, and you have to do promotion, and then you have to take time. And if all the time you're not working, you're doing music, and you're not earning anything.
London's awful. There's so much pay to play. London promoters try to get people to pay a gig there. If you're paying 80 quid in petrol for there and back, then you're paying another 50 quid on top of that. You're out £200
for 30 minutes
for a 30-minute set on a Friday night.
If you could change one thing about the music industry for musicians who are starting out, what would that be?
Minimum wage.
Minimum wage for musicians would be amazing.
Yeah.
God, that would be incredible.
It is a job.
Every time we play a gig, I have to take a night off work. I'm on a 0 hours contract, so I lose 70 quid.
Every time we're doing music stuff, it's time that could be used making money. We're losing money for it.
Capitalism.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you could change capitalism, that's the one thing I'd change.
Apart from George loves capitalism.
I'm here at Epic Studios to find out what their recently installed sound system could mean for new musicians, and hear Swedish band Normandy demonstrate it during their sound check. Would you say that for musicians starting out now, live shows are the best way for them to get their music out there and to be heard?
The live show has become even more important than it used to be. Now, with record sales being a lot lower than they used to be, bands have to look at their different income streams. Touring, doing shows, selling merchandise at the shows is even more important. Making the whole life experience as good as you can is always a good thing. We're all in it because we love music, and therefore we want to hear it the best possible way that we can.
With events like that music thing, are you hoping to give new artists, local artists, a better platform to perform their music on?
Absolutely. I mean, the idea with that music thing is 90% of the artists will be local. It's for the bands to utilise. They'll get 3 or 4 fantastic live videos, and it's down to them to share it across their social media platforms, etc. Hopefully one of them will get discovered from a great performance that they do here.
A few months after Stiff Little Fingers played a sold-out show at the Water, I'm here to ask bassist Ali McMordy about the challenges they faced when they were starting out, and if anything has changed.
For us, live shows are the lifeblood of what we're all about. We couldn't ever hope to depend on record sales to make a living. It was just absolutely impossible even now. It's really live shows that are the backbone.
When you were starting out, what were the biggest challenges in the music industry? Ali told me about the difficulties of growing up in Belfast during the Troubles.
It was pretty much a war, almost like civil war. It was very difficult to get anywhere to play. The first thing that we wanted to do was just get out and play gigs. That was difficult enough in itself. What made it also doubly difficult was that punk rock had a really bad name. From the few venues that were available, we would have to book shows under the pretense of saying it was a wedding party, and then just hope that by the time they twigged it would be too late and they wouldn't want to turn all these spiky top punk rockers away from the door.
I asked what he would change if he could to make it easier for musicians starting out in the industry.
Banning records instead of just streaming music means that the artists, bands and musicians get much more of a return. And not just buy records, but become supporters of bands rather than followers of genres, because then you're more of a customer than a fan.
I've come to St Benedict Street to speak to the owner of Soundclash Records about her shop's relationship with the local music scene and his thoughts on what the situation is like for new musicians.
Once being the forefront of the music industry and the testing ground for record labels for the future, no longer we are needed. It is now the internet. The internet is now the place that you would go for finding new acts.
How would you say record stores help local musicians, and how do you help each other?
We sell tickets for local concerts. We have local music sections. We sell CDs and vinyl. So anyone who's got a record out, they bring it in and we display it in the window, on the wall.
If you could change one thing about the music industry to make it easier for musicians starting out, what would you change?
You can't change an industry that's in control. The people who can make stuff without needing record companies, without needing record shops, to be able to touch people all around the world using platforms like SoundCloud, YouTube, is the future for everybody.
Drum and bass style, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really heavy electro.
Yeah, nice one. Thank you.
I've been invited to the house of Karen Riley, lead singer of Neurochart Punks, The Neutrinos. Asking her about the challenges the band faced in its infancy, I hear her thoughts on the financial aspects of being a musician and how it can create difficulties. So how much did you rely on self-promotion or DIY?
Our first gig as the Neutrinos, this chap came along, Steve Forster. He's always championed our work. For 20 years he was helping us promote it. It gave us a deep understanding of the need for promotion. When we released our second album called One Way Kiss, we employed a PR agency. That was interesting. It definitely did raise us above the normal radar.
Would you consider money a barrier to getting started in the industry?
It can be, but if you want to do something, you'll find a way around it.
Do you think that actually the fact that it's not the easiest thing to do financially makes it more of a passion project for people?
Yeah, people should get paid for music. And I think that is the difficult thing, because what's changed throughout my time of consuming music is that point where suddenly people stopped paying for it. Although that was really exciting and you could then consume loads of music, how are musicians paid? And even with Spotify, the micro payments, and they don't add up to the time, effort and skill that is put into creating the music.
Just behind me is Space Studios, where Baguette Panzer are playing in just a few hours. Unlike the Bannon Barrel show, this time they're the headliners, in a venue which only holds 75 people. For small shows like this, promotion is essential, and the band has been busy on their Facebook page encouraging fans to come along. Performing along with other local acts, this show is a chance for Baguette Can to show just the impact they're making on the local Norwich music scene. Tonight's show offers a change from the usual gig venue, as it normally serves as art studio, one of which the band warms up in. The logistics of arranging all the equipment surfaces again, as there isn't much space to perform in. The band receive an energetic welcome and decide to become more involved with the crowd. The band's self-titled track closes a lively and successful show for them, where they've clearly made their mark.
All I really want is a bag of Thank you, Space. Thank you, Chase. Thank you, people. You're amazing.
Throughout my investigation into the challenges facing new artists in Norwich, I've discovered that while streaming services are useful for exposure, buying CDs, records, or going to a show contributes much more directly to a musician's finances. And some of the struggles of self-promotion and being able to sustain a career in music still remain just as difficult as ever. However, I have also learned that it is fully possible to forge a successful career in music, despite the difficulties. And for artists in the early stages, local support can prove incredibly important. And for artists like Baguette Panzer, that ongoing support, perseverance, and their passion for performing could be just what they need to take them that one step further.
I've run out of beer. If someone wants to be a... Keep coming.